Police are heroes? What? Welcome back to the Action Taken, and today we are back quicker than ever because someone else got offended. As always, liberals, the woke people. I used to think the woke people were actually in the sense that you realize the stupidity that's going on, but apparently woke is actually used to define liberals or people that agree with the movement. Like, they'll call, let's say, white people who support stupid policies or whatever as woke, in the case that it agrees with their agenda. So let's just say, for example, white people who support Black Lives Matter, or white people that understand that they're privileged, are woke white people, which is completely stupid, but apparently that's the new woke now. I used to always think that woke meant you actually knew what was going on, you actually researched what you're talking about, etc., etc. But apparently not. And here we are today because a woke professor got offended because a student of hers called police officers heroes. So let's get into this. There's a video that I'm going to show you guys from Fox. I hope that no one says, oh, Fox, the most right-winged news channel ever. I watch Fox because I think it's actually the only bipartisan news channel that we have now, because everyone else tends to be completely biased, and people have the audacity to call Fox a partisan news network that's only right-wing, because from what I remember, when Trump did something wrong, Fox would still call him out. But on the other channels, it's just double standards, and it's crazy that people don't see this. So yes, I am going to continue watching Fox, and I am going to continue being a Republican. But let's get into this video. It is funny, but it's not really a funny topic. All right, so there's the news headlines, but let's go right into the video. It goes straight right into it, so you might not understand it at first, but it's basically a teacher who got offended because a student of hers called our American heroes for what they are, heroes.
I have a difficult job, but we have to have
all of them.
Life. Oh,
Look, you see that smirk? This is the condescending smirk that you would get from a typical liberal. And I'm sorry to be so... Actually, going forward, I'll try to be a little more respectful, but it has to be called out that for what it is. I'm sorry. Obviously there are great liberals. I'm not gonna, don't take my statements for generalizing all liberals. I don't want to offend anybody, but I don't think it's something offensive if you're not actually that type of person that I'm speaking of. So, yeah, whatever I say does not mean that all liberals or all Democrats. I welcome liberals and Democrats in the channel. If you guys want to debate, comment below. I'll invite you up for a show, and we'll go from there and see if we could talk it out. As long as no one is attacking or condescending or anything of that sort, I'm always open for debate. But anyways, back to the video. Look at her smirk. All of them? Like they have a hard job? It's insane. Like you could see her emotions just get right into it at the beginning.
Of job, but we have to have
all of them.
Life. Oh, I'd say
she's offended.
A good majority of them.
You're saying police officers should be revered, viewed as heroes. They belong on TV shows with children.
I think they are heroes in a sense because they come to your need and they come and help you. Who do we call when we're in trouble and someone has a knife or a gun?
I wouldn't call the police.
Why wouldn't you call the police?
You see, there's right-wing views and there's, leftist views or extreme far left views, but hers is just stupidity views. I mean, how can you say that you're not going to call the cops if someone was about to kill you? I really doubt it. And it's hypocrisy at the finest. As always, it's hypocrisy. She says this now, but if something was going on, she's going to call the cops. I don't get it. Like, we could disagree on anything, but there's certain things you can't disagree on. you know, if you need to do this or that, you got to get into your house because you lost your keys. Who are you calling? The cops. If your school gets into a shootout, who are you calling? The cops. So she's coming in as if she doesn't need cops, and it's hysterical. It is completely hysterical. And if there's anyone that believes they don't need officers in this world, you have to be out of your mind, because even if it's not something towards you, the world is in order because there's authority. You know, humans, and like, don't take it for you know, everything for concrete, but humans are evil. There's gonna be bad people, and bad people could do damage to other people. How do we get rid of this bad person? We either call the cops or we take it into our own hands. Now, this has been proven that we need some sort of law and order for society to function. So for her to say something like that is basically saying that we could live without laws. Because what are laws for, and how do we enforce the law without the police officers? So she's basically saying our form of government is wrong, which is completely stupid. But let's keep going.
I don't trust them.
She don't trust them. Anyways, the audio goes out for some reason.
Berating one of her students after he argued police officers are heroes. That student, Cypress College freshman Braden Ellis, joins me now. Braden, I mean, the video.
So now he was invited to Fox News. I wish I could go on Fox News because I love what they're doing. And I really, again, if you guys disagree with me, you're entitled to disagreeing. But Fox News is one of the only news channels that actually report news on behalf of everybody. So that's why I love them. But let's get right back into it. They invited him up to talk about what happened after the fact.
Watching you in that moment, in that class, and I'm going to almost say class in quotation marks, but I'll let you tell us about that. It's stunning, man. What was your professor's explanation for some of those answers? I mean, what you were saying, I think almost everyone listening is like, yeah, police are heroes. And you, of course, said by and large, there are exceptions, but you refused to accept
that also, that there are obviously bad cops. And you see, the funny, despicable thing about some of these views is people ask to not be generalized, but then again, they go and generalize police officers. So no doubt there's bad apples in every single industry that you could think of. And it's fine. You know, obviously we would try to fix it or whatever the case might be. But for them to say, hey, stop generalizing us. For example, you know, police and the black community targeting black people or whatsoever, quote unquote, saying that all black people are criminals. That's wrong. That is wrong. I agree with that completely. But then they say, don't generalize us. And we understand that. But then they go ahead and generalize that all cops are bad. So what exactly are you asking for? Is this hypocrisy or what is it? So let's go right back into the video.
Accept that answer. What was her argument?
I think her argument, and good morning, and thank you for having me, Will. I appreciate it. I think her argument was, you know, she's more of a left-wing person, and I think she was trying to get a gotcha moment out of me. And I just remained calm and respectful and gentle with her arguments. And I think she was trying to get that gotcha moment and to confuse me and just say, oh, I don't know.
Yeah, you said, you know, a left-wing ideology or a left-wing point of view.
And it's funny because the left used to preach for free speech. Liberals and freedom is, you know, by definition, liberals, you know, they fought for free speech. But now it's the complete opposite. You know, the left are constantly canceling people if they have an opposing view. And it's insane. You know, again, not all Democrats are like that. The extreme far left seems to be like that. And I always say democratic views aren't bad. You know, I think democratic views are great for humanity. However, there should be a limit, because when you give people, and I sound like an extremist, but when you give people too much rights, they're going to be offended by every single thing on this planet. And that's exactly what's going on now, with people constantly being offended because I said this or that.
View or left-wing agenda. I think you're right, because clearly in the exchange that I can see here, she's talking about the police department, its history, its ties to runaway slaves. She's tying all of this history to men and women in uniform today trying to protect us from someone who might harm us, invade our home, or whatever it may be. And when you brought that up to her in a longer clip, you said, who would you call? Her answer was what, Braden?
No one. She wouldn't call anybody. And I was expecting an answer such as she would call a social worker, because a lot of Democrats are calling for social workers. And I was assuming she would say social worker. And she said, no one. And I said, would you have a gun on you? And she said, no.
So she basically wants to die. I mean, I want to see. I mean, I'm not quote unquote inciting violence, but I want to see. I want to see how she would deal with circumstances when she's put into danger, quote unquote, not calling anybody, or even just maybe look into her history with the police. I mean, you could run her name, and from there we will see that she's obviously a liar, because I'm sure she's came into an encounter with the police at least once in her lifetime as someone that's relatively old and as a teacher, whether it be calling the cops for a student or calling the cops because of a car accident or whatever the case might be. I'm sure you'll find something there, but obviously she doesn't need it. She doesn't need the police when it's convenient for her to say.
And I said, okay, well, that was interesting. And I was very surprised by that. And I've never heard an answer like that. It's quite interesting.
Right. What is she going to do to protect herself? She went on to tell you, by the way, that I feel more endangered by the police, which is just statistically.
That is funny as well. She feels more endangered by the police. Based off of what? Based off of what stats? If you do any digging into police saving lives versus quote unquote police taking lives, especially innocent lives, is so rare. But again, facts don't matter in this world.
Insane. It's a total lack of understanding of what the actual situation is in our country right now. So here's what I want to ask you, Braden, before I lose you today. What you did, and you stood up for truth and rationality. But those are two concepts now that take some measure of bravery to actually say out loud, much less in a classroom setting. And you talked about using your cool and calm, approach to the argument. But that was certainly a situation where you could be, quote unquote, canceled, whatever that might mean for you. I don't know, get an F, banished from the college campus. Did any of that enter your mind?
Yes, I when I saw the video recorded that was on our Zoom, it was recorded by her. I was worried about my grade, and I was worried about my class and my future at that college. But I think to what to say to the college students that are Republicans or conservatives or even Christians like me, don't be afraid to speak out against what they teach in college. And we as Republicans need to remember that we have the policies. We have strong policies, and we need to remain strong and tough, but do it with gentleness and respect. Who wouldn't want lower taxes and a strong military and safety at home? That's like the best policies you can ever have. It's pretty common sense, too. So I agree. Yeah. Free speech used to be a liberal agenda, and not so much anymore.
Yeah, and I think that's the point. It's not just conservatives or Christians. It's not just Republicans. It's actually anyone who doesn't want just one radical point of view shoved down their throat needs to find some measure of strength, a spine like you exhibited right there, Braden. That took strength, that took spine, and more people need to stand up and say what is not just what they believe, but what is true out loud. By the way, for what it's worth, that professor's taking a leave of absence from Cypress.
Leave of absence because she has to. I mean, after saying something so stupid, you have to go. But again, like I say, we conservatives now have to stand up for ourselves because we're getting canceled left and right for the truth. So we have to put a stop to this, and we should get that teacher fired because that's what they've been doing to us. We have a different point of view and we will get fired. Now, do I think that it should be an eye for an eye? No. But should the teacher be basically teaching her students that police officers are bad just because she believes so? I mean, if you have a professor that's teaching closed-mindedness, is that more beneficial to the students, or who is it beneficial to? The university got to review this because you have such a closed-minded person teaching a class, and if the students don't agree with her, she'll basically go off on them. So hopefully she gets what she deserves. I really don't care at this point, but it's just to bring awareness of hypocrisy and stupidity from these people that have no basis on what they're saying, and it's crazy. And like, the Fox News guy brought up, the kid could have been canceled. And, Republicans don't do that. I mean, obviously there are some, but majority of Republicans are down to debate with you. Cancel culture evolved from the left, and it's so dangerous and toxic because nobody can have a different differentiating opinion, and society is going to die down like that. So I hope that we could somehow get this teacher to get what she deserves. I mean, it's insane. But thanks for tuning in. And if you guys found any value in this video, please subscribe, turn on notifications, like, and comment below on why you agree or why you disagree. Again, I am here to debate with you. If you are open to debate, we'll invite you onto the show and you will talk to me about your views, and I'll try to prove you right or wrong, and you try to prove yourself right or wrong, and see if we could come to an understanding. But cancel culture is not happening here, and if you're here to cancel people, you're not welcomed. So have a good one. The action taken, guys. Thank you for tuning in.